FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
This is Kerry Lutz, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And it's time for another Triple Lutz report. This is episode 339. The date is March 7th, 2014. And just like we've been telling you, man, this Obamacare is totally coming off the rails. Latest report, the new health insurance marketplaces are making no headway in signing up Americans who lack insurance, which was purportedly the Affordable Care Act's central goal. There's 2 new surveys out. Only 1 in 10 uninsured people who qualify for private plans through the marketplaces enrolled as of last month. And the other survey found that about half of uninsured adults have looked for information on the online exchanges or plan to look. And this is what happens when government sticks its nose in places where it doesn't belong. They just can't understand why it's not working. You know, these central planners in their ivory towers in Washington, they're just amazed. I mean, here we give you this wonderful insurance that you can't afford, that you don't want, giving you coverage for things like pregnancy in men and all sorts of things like extended warranties on sex toys, and you're just not going for it. I don't understand. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Americans? And these findings emerge as the administration has been revising rules and rewriting rules that define how the law works in practice, because it doesn't work in practice. And according to a variety of health policy experts who support and oppose the law, the changes are in response to consumer hesitancy and political opposition that linger, at least in the early going, as the law's major provisions have taken effect or haven't really taken effect. I mean, it's just absurd. And the next thing that's coming is that the small business mandate is just not going to occur. This week, administration officials said that people could keep for 3 years health plans whose benefits do not meet the law's standards. Last week, they said the government would pay for people in certain states to collect federal subsidies for insurance policies outside the exchanges. 2 weeks before that, they gave medium-sized and large employers 2 additional years before they must offer coverage to their full-time workers. I mean, the surveys offer no evidence that the rule changes contribute to the insurance marketplace's low popularity. And, you know, let's face it, this thing is just a fraud. It was destined to fail from the beginning, and it's not going to work. It's going to be repealed. It's just government's desire to embrace failure. I told you back in April, I guaranteed you that this thing was going to fail. There was never a question that it was going to fail. And here we are. And the whole thing, the whole justification for this thing to be implemented was government's failure in the first place. The reason why there is failure in the medical market is due solely to government's intervention in the medical marketplace. Medicare and Medicaid are government programs that, while there's certain successes, while people can get health care or treatment, elderly people, it's caused dislocations, malinvestment, and all sorts of bad decisions on the part of Americans and on the part of doctors, hospitals, and the healthcare industry that has caused problems, unintended consequences that, of course, leads government to go and say that they're trying to solve these problems. And here we have it. Now more problems are occurring, and the government's going to go and solve these problems that they're the direct cause of. Well, I don't want to bore you with this. You've heard me say it over and over and over again. But as Peter Schiff said, the website is the nicest part of the law, the best part of Obamacare. And look, so far, 14 states operating their own insurance exchanges instead of relying on the federal one. Only New York has given any indication about how many uninsured people are signing up. And New York State's state of health, the state's marketplace, said last month that including people eligible for Medicaid or Obamacare, 70% of the 500,000 people who had enrolled since it opened in October were uninsured at the time they signed up. I don't believe it. I think they're lying. Any statistics you're getting from the government now are pure lies, just like the non-farm payroll report today that said 175,000 people had somehow miraculously found employment during the month in spite of these snowstorms. Do you believe that? How many of you believe it? Write me at KHL@kerrylutz.com. Let me know how many of you believe that 175,000 people found employment. I don't believe it. I don't think Zero Hedge believes it, but who thinks so? I'd like to know. You know, Zero Hedge is talking about how most of the people of that 175,000 that found jobs were older workers, people 55 and over. Why aren't the younger people finding the jobs? It's just kind of shocking that only the old people find jobs now. What made the younger people unemployable? And the fact is that in reality, these numbers have been cooked. And the reality is that the job market's getting worse. Even the fake unemployment rate went up to 6.7 from 6.6. Why did that happen? I'd like to understand that. Wouldn't you? So Newsweek, man, that publication, that once great news magazine that people waited by their mailbox to receive, now it's a shadow of its former self. I think it was owned by the Washington Post newspaper. They finally actually did some investigative journalism, but for what purpose, I don't know. But they invested a whole bunch of money to track down the brains behind Bitcoin. The 64-year-old Japanese-American man who builds model trains and whose own brother calls him an a-hole, according to what they said. This guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, he has a modest home in Temple City, California. He's wearing a rumpled T-shirt and old blue jeans and white gym socks, and his hair is unkempt, and he has a 1,000-mile stare of someone who has gone weeks without sleep, according to investigative reporter Leah McGrath Goodman. Man, these people use three names. I thought only serial killers and assassins use three names, but now I guess Newsweek reporters are in that club as well. And he stands not with defiance, but with the slackness of a person who has waged battle for a long time and now faces a grave loss. And the magazine said it conducted an exhaustive 2-month investigation of public records and interviewed a number of Nakamoto's Bitcoin cohorts and estranged family members before they were certain it was him. But when they confronted him outside his home near Los Angeles, he refused to answer questions in any detail and then called the cops. So what is it you want to ask this man about? One of the officers asked Goodman. He thinks if he talks to you, he's going to get into trouble. And of course, they said they wanted to ask him about Bitcoin. This man is Satoshi Nakamoto, who personally owns as much as 500 million in Bitcoins. And the officer probably didn't know what a Bitcoin was. And this is the guy who created Bitcoin. Looks like he's living a pretty humble life. Well, you know, the guy's interesting, though. He's done classified work for major corporations, the U.S. military, and he corresponded first with the reporter via email, who was posing as someone mainly interested in model trains and computer-aided design. You know, what do you get for the guy that has everything and owns a bunch of Bitcoins? I don't know, but interesting times we're living in. So more about this Bitcoin founder. Up next on the Financial Survival Network, I'm Kerry Lutz. A new sponsor, I'm proud to say. It's the Owings Metals Group. And our friend Kevin Drost is really one of the best guys out there. I am really pleased that they chose us to be with them. When it comes to precious metals, gold and silver, thousands of years old. They've been real money for so many years. There's not much innovating going on. But one thing that Owings Metals has that is unique in the precious metal space is this concept of wearable wealth. We're talking about 24-karat gold. Indians have been doing it for thousands of years. They know that when you got to get out of the country quick, having it in bullion coins, bars, not always the best way to go, but wearing your precious metals out of the country makes total sense. Owings is doing this like no one I've ever seen before. They've got wearable jewelry, simple bracelets, necklaces, unlike the Indian jewelry, which isn't always that durable. Owings is, and it's held together by very durable, I think it's titanium, but strong wires, and you can actually detach pieces of it, sell it off as you need it. You got to take a look at this. Highly recommend it. Obviously, the margins are going to be higher on this than they are on your regular bullion coins because there is workmanship involved in it. But to have a portion of your bullion, of your metals holdings in this type of product makes a lot of sense to me because you can get it out of the country without paying duties, without paying tariffs on it. So I want you to take a look at it. It makes a lot of sense. OwingsMetals.com. That's Owings, OwingsMetals.com. You can also call them at 855-604-6343, 855-604-6343. Tell them Kerry sent you. Great company. I really trust them. I'm a customer as well. OwingsMetals.com. We're back. We're talking about Satoshi Nakamoto. So they find this guy. He's in LA. He's kind of living a very anonymous life, even though he's worth, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, because he still supposedly holds, you know, a whole ton, millions of Bitcoins, I guess, close to 1 million Bitcoins, maybe more. A lot of Bitcoins haven't even, something like 10 million haven't even been mined yet, although I don't really understand how you mine them. And right at this minute, if we look at Kitco, and you know that Bitcoins are going mainstream because if you go to kitco.com, that's the go-to site for gold and silver prices. And by the way, we're back to the NFP, non-farm payroll report raids on gold and silver. Gold was down as much as $20 the ounce on March 7th, right on the doorstep of the NFP report. Now it's only down $12.50. Silver down, how much is silver down? 48 cents, man. That was starting to get really interesting with gold and silver. Now they had to slam it. I don't think it's going to matter. But if you go to the markets tab, which has new on it, you click that, and then all the way to the right is a quote for the Bitcoin market. Bitcoin got slammed a little, but it's still holding steady above $600, $624.98 today. Bitcoin's going for. So this Satoshi guy, real interesting character. I mean, real interesting that obviously he doesn't care about money. He's like a Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, 20-something billion the guy is worth. But that's not the point. He doesn't care about that. All he cares about is his creation. So like the guy, they're continuing to harass him because they're not sure that they have him. And they are talking to his family members, all of whom had no idea he might have been involved in the creation of Bitcoin. And he seems to have the requisite skills to develop a cryptocurrency. He graduated from Cal State Polytech with a degree in physics. He also worked in security and communications for the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. And the Newsweek piece makes clear that the man identified in California may not, in fact, be the person behind Bitcoin, although it sounds like he probably is. There are, after all, other people who've claimed to be the real Nakamoto in Japan. There's also the possibility that Satoshi Nakamoto is the real name or not the real name of Bitcoin's founder. So what's the true story? At the end of the day, no one knows, but it appears possible that the Nakamoto in California, I don't know. My guess is it's probably him. I just have a feeling it seems like this is going to be the guy. My money's on this guy. Just feels like it's right. What do you think? Send me an email. So, Comrade DeBlasio, no story. No Triple Lutz report is complete without a story about Comrade DeBlasio. Confucius say, make sure you know what you make sure you know what you want because you just might get it. And I don't put much stock in polls. I think they're easily manipulated, but this guy, not ready for prime time. He knows nothing about managing anything. I mean, I told you from the get-go, remember that story that the Russians, all their cars in the U.S. during the Cold War possessed the prefix on their license plates, FCB, which stood for effing commie bastard. And that's the kind of the way I look at the Comrade DeBlasio, an avowed communist and an alum of where most of the modern day communists come from, Columbia University. So he swept into office with a 49-point margin of victory last year, and now the bloom is off the rose. Just 39% of voters say they approve of the job being done by the new mayor, according to a Wall Street Journal NBC poll. Well, there's a bunch of other entities sponsoring this poll. It showed 10% of New Yorkers rating his performance 2 months in as excellent, 29% calling it good. Obviously, probably most of them are city employees. He still has a lot to do to convince people that he's on top of managing the city and literally making positive changes. That's not coming through yet to people. According to Lee Maringoff, director of the Marist College Institute for Public Opinion, that's putting it mildly. I mean, if you look at the job that he's done managing the snow removal, I mean, he still has the same people that Bloomberg had managing snow removal, and yet he still can't manage to get it done. The guy is incompetent, plain and simple. He just can't figure out how things are done. Just can't figure it out. But none of this is a surprise. Wait till the contract negotiations come, and he gives every New York City employee, from the guy mopping the floors in City Hall to the cops to the firemen to the teachers unions to everybody, gigundo raises. The city is going to be bankrupt. I said in 3 years, but I figure 2 years could probably do it. You know, a guy like him, he might do it. He might exceed all of our expectations and have them bankrupt in 18 months. I mean, this is a man of incredible talent, and I really hate to think what he's capable of. I mean, when he was the public advocate of New York, which I don't know what a public advocate does, I don't know who he advocates for. I mean, he was a laughingstock. And now that he's mayor, he's even more of a laughingstock. The guy is in La La Land, let's face it. And he is capable of anything, and he is going to attempt to drive New York City back to the Dinkins years. The only good thing that he's done is appoint Bill Bratton as police commissioner, but everything else he's done has just been insane. And he's done things like been caught driving through stop signs and red lights at the same time that he's advocating a major traffic safety plan, and he can't figure out how to get the garbage picked up during the snowstorms. The guy is just a man of very, very limited talents. And Nanny Bloomberg had his failings, the trying to ban the big sodas, banning smoking, just one thing after the next. The guy was a total joke. Let's face it. We all know it, but he was a competent manager. And he really, really did invest heavily in New York City's infrastructure. All this Comrade DeBlasio cares about is pre-K. All he's trying to do is get taxes raised on the wealthy who are moving out of New York City now, we find out, in droves, and pre-K for people that couldn't care less whether their kids go to school in the first place. And what he thinks he's going to accomplish there, other than full employment for New York City teachers, many of whom are illiterate and shouldn't be teaching in the first place, is a total mystery to me. But, New York's just going to have to go through all this, and that's all that it comes down to. So that's what you're going to witness here, the meltdown of what can never work, what never has worked, and what never will work, because it just can't be any other way. You know it, I know it, and pretty soon even the dense moronic voters of New York will know it. So stay tuned. Don't despair. It's all going to work out. Promise. Kerry Lutz on the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. If you're looking to buy gold and silver, or you want wearable wealth, that's 24-karat gold jewelry that you can wear out of the country anytime you feel like, it's owingsmetals.com. That's right, owingsmetals.com. Or call them at 855-604-6343. That's 855-604-6343. 855-604-6343, and tell them Kerry sent you. And we're back, and I know this is a little bit of a gruesome story, but I got to share it with you because it just shows in the age of electronic banking, things can just go on and on and on until they don't anymore. So this woman in Detroit, this is just an amazing story. I can't even fathom it. And I just am glad that I have kids who might notice if I stop calling them and texting them and emailing them. But for years, this woman's payment went out of her bank account and nobody batted an eyelid. Her bills got paid. Life went on as normal in this quiet neighborhood in Pontiac, Michigan. And this story appeared on CNN. And the neighbors, of course, didn't notice anything unusual. The woman, they said, traveled a lot and she kept to herself, which is what they say about serial killers after they do their deed. So one of the neighbors mowed her grass and things looked tidy, but at some point the inevitable happened. Her bank account ran dry, the bills stopped being paid, and after its warnings went unanswered, the bank holding her mortgage foreclosed on the house. Common occurrence in Michigan and in this region hard hit by the economy and the economic decline. And still, nobody noticed what had happened inside the house. Nobody wondered what became of the owner because, as we said, she kept to herself. And not until this week, when a worker sent by the bank to repair a hole in the roof made a gruesome discovery. The woman's mummified body, just can't believe this, was sitting in the back seat of her car, parked in the garage. The key was halfway in the ignition. And authorities say they believe the woman died at least 6 years ago, and they're still trying to piece it together to figure out what exactly took place. And Under Sheriff Mike McCabe of Oakland County, Michigan, and that's a county for those of you who don't know the area, which is just outside of Detroit. Not a bad county. I've got friends that grew up there. He says he's been doing this for 37 years and has never seen anything like it before. So the woman, not the most outgoing person. Authorities aren't letting her identity out until they've informed her family, but you got to wonder, where was the family anyway? She paid her bills from her bank account through autopay. Neighbors said they didn't know much about her, describing her as in her 40s and of German descent. She really kept to herself, said Caitlin Talbot. We never really heard anything from her. Well, obviously, you never heard anything from her. She was dead for 6 years, and dead men tell no tales. And Talbot said she wasn't aware of anyone having seen the woman who traveled a lot in about 6 years. And she was probably there for a couple of days. Then she'd leave for a week. Then she'd come back. And then she'd leave for a month. And then she'd leave for 6 years, I guess. And McCabe says the neighbors chalked up the woman's absences to her returning to Germany for long periods of time. And despite years without a living owner. The house was never broken into. That's interesting. And said the house appears to have black mold inside of it. So that might have killed her if whatever killed her didn't. And the detectives, when they finally entered the building, they were in hazmat suits. And another neighbor told the Detroit Free Press that mail never piled up at the house and the lawn never grew out of order. And it's cool that the neighbor just cut the grass for years. If she hadn't had such nice neighbors, they might have found out a long time before that she was dead. And interestingly enough, in 2007, police were sent out to the house for a welfare check after a neighbor had reported not having seen the owner in a while. So this was 7 years ago. And cops said nothing was amiss and went on their merry way. And the authorities are waiting for a toxicology report, tox screening, which is going to take 4 to 6 weeks before determining the cause of death. Medical examiner found no signs of trauma to the body. And the deputy medical examiner who conducted the autopsy told the Detroit Free Press that the woman's skin was still intact, but the internal organs had decomposed. Little yucky mummification process. Skin develops a parchment-like consistency. It's kind of gross. But, hey, I guess when you're dead, you really do keep to yourself, don't you? Weird stories in the Motor City. Detroit, man, what a place, huh? You just never know, huh? Amazing. Like, people just keep to themselves, I guess, in Detroit. And no news is good news, huh? So here's an interesting story that I'll bet you didn't know. The 10 most indebted indebted members of the United States Congress, 9 of them are Democrats, 1 is a Republican. Number 10 on the list, and I'm not drawing any inferences, is this guy Chaka Fattah, owes $650K. Number 9, Pedro Pierluisi. He's not really a congressman. He's a resident commission of Puerto Rico, $674. Joseph Crowley, New York, $762. Mike Quigley, Illinois, $765. I'll just go quickly. Steve Israel, these New Yorkers, $795,000. Probably mostly his debt's pretty high. Liabilities from a mixture of mortgages, credit card debt. Ruben Hinojosa, Texas, $808,000. Howard Buck McEwen, California, $943,000. Florida, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, $1 million. Man, it's a good picture of her. She really looks a little crazier. Alcee Hastings of Florida, $2.2 million. He's a real piece of work, too. Then we get to number 1, David Valadao, Republican in California, $4.1 million. But what's interesting about him is that he owns a farm and most of his liabilities are all farm related. So he actually takes out debt, lines of credit to generate income. Smart guy. Unlike the others who have debt, which is solely to own homes and credit card debt, this guy is actually borrowing money to build wealth. Makes a lot of sense. Who would think? So the Republican there is actually a businessman who is borrowing money to build wealth, and whereas the others are just taking on debt for the sake of maintaining a lifestyle. So, tells you something about the difference in the parties, even though I despise both parties. Trust me. Alcee Hastings, this guy owes $2 million in legal fees from a trial on charges of bribery while he was still serving on the U.S. District Court. He was acquitted of the charges, but later a federal panel found that he lied and fabricated evidence. He was removed from the court after votes in the House and the Senate. I think he was the first judge ever removed, ever impeached from the federal court, which made him ideally suited to become a U.S. congressman, don't you think? Shameful. The guy should have been banished and should be ashamed to be seen in public, but that wouldn't stop him. So, hats off to the U.S. Congress. They seem to be masters at accumulating debt, not only for the country, but for themselves as well. What are the odds that Alcee never pays off any of that debt? And probably, I think this happened more than 10 years ago, probably barred by the statute of limitations as well, but he's still carrying it on the books, and he'll never pay a penny of it, I guarantee you. But this is your United States Congress at work, right? Gotta love them. Got to love them, that's for sure. So that's it for this Triple Lutz report. We'll have another one later on in the day coming up. Hey, don't forget, we've got a new sponsor, I'm proud to say. It's the Owings Metals Group, and our friend Kevin Drost is really one of the best guys out there. I am really pleased that they chose us to be with them. When it comes to precious metals, gold and silver, thousands of years old. They've been real money for so many years. There's not much innovating going on. But one thing that Owings Metals has that is unique in the precious metal space is this concept of wearable precious metals. Indians have been doing it for thousands of years. They know that when you got to get out of the country quick, having it in bullion coins, bars, not always the best way to go, but wearing your precious metals out of the country makes total sense. Owings is doing this like no one I've ever seen before. They've got wearable jewelry, simple bracelets, necklaces, unlike the Indian jewelry, which isn't always that durable. Owings is, and it's held together by very durable, I think it's titanium, but strong wires, and you can actually detach pieces of it, sell it off as you need it. You got to take a look at this stuff. Highly recommend it. Obviously, the margins are going to be higher on this than they are on your regular bullion coins because there's workmanship involved in it. But to have a portion of your bullion, of your metals holdings in this type of product makes a lot of sense to me because you can get it out of the country without paying duties, without paying tariffs on it. So I want you to take a look at it. It makes a lot of sense. OwingsMetals.com. That's Owings, OwingsMetals.com. You can also call them at 855-604-6343, 855-604-6343. Tell them Kerry sent you. Great company. I really trust them. I'm a customer as well. OwingsMetals.com.